San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Final hour of John and Jim. We're getting you ready for San Diego State football this weekend. In fact, we do have a pair of tickets to give away this hour. We'll do that after a conversation right now with San Diego State's defensive coordinator, Kurt Mattix. But San Diego State's got a big one. 3 of 4 at home to close. Aztecs, Rebels, this Saturday at 4. Pregame coverage at 2 p.m. Tickets are available at goaztecs.com. A pair of teams that are both 4-4 and 2-2 in the Mountain West, doing battle Saturday afternoon. Coach, always appreciate your time here on San Diego Sports 760. I want to look back and then ahead as well. When you think about Saturday, I mean, obviously this is a completely wild game. You guys controlled the game for the better part of 60 minutes. I thought your defense played maybe as well as it had all year for the better part of the game. So how do you look at Saturday? You know, for 55 minutes or so, collectively, you play some of your best football. You don't finish the job, though, late. You have a couple of chances maybe with your defense to make a play, but Fresno State gets a couple of late scores. How do you look at Saturday as you talk to your defense moving forward?
And first of all, thank you for having me on.
Of course.
I really appreciate your guys' support and stuff like that. And, you know, we're going to look at the game no different than we would any other game. There's going to always be some great plays that we make. There's going to be some good plays that we make, and there's going to be some plays that we got to learn from. And that's what we did as we watched the tape. And you know, obviously that was a hard game, hard-fought game by both teams. And unfortunately, one team had to lose, and we were that team that given night. So there were opportunities that we felt like we could have taken advantage of, a couple offsides that led to some free yardage and some free plays that we, you know, if you can get that back. And then, you know, just ultimately the execution down the end. And those are things that, you know, are always hard to learn in those types of situations, but it's great learning experiences. And we're looking forward to this week and getting that bad taste out of our mouth against UNLV.
As a defensive coaching staff, what lessons did you guys learn to make sure that those mistakes do not happen in the future?
Sure. You know, the first thing is, you know, in 2 minutes, you know, we felt like, you know, because of the lead that we had, you know, you could keep the ball in front of you. You never want to get the ball thrown over your head. So, and then at some point, you know, when they cross the 50 or even closer to the 30-yard line, we got to tighten up some windows. We got to tighten up some opportunity, you know, some of those windows as far as closing down to receivers. You know, in some of our blitzes, we got to maintain the edges and continue to push the pocket. Don't stop our feet on contact in some of the pass rushing situations. And then, you know, on Sdsu Barfield, which was a really well thrown ball by Hayner, you know, just got to get that ball out. You know, got to get that ball out, you know, when they scored the one touchdown, because he was in really good coverage. Again, going back to 2-minute drive, I wish I could have had a different call when they ended up running the ball down on the goal line, you know, for the second touchdown right before, you know, the onside kick, you know, forced them because they did want to run it, you know, run a good blitz there, you know, force them to, you know, have to eat some more time on the field, on the clock. And then you get yourself into a situation, then it gets to be predictable from that standpoint of having to pass it and then ultimately try to blitz and put a little bit more pressure on Hayner.
San Diego State's defensive coordinator, Kurt Mattix, with us right now on John and Jim. You know, you look at the last couple of weeks, Coach, and your defense has really played well. And I get it. You're trying to win every single football game.
Sure.
And you guys were unable to do that on Saturday. But 10 sacks the last 2 games combined, 19 tackles for loss, 68 pressures. You know, how pleased are you with what you're seeing now from this group? It feels like they've really taken a big step forward here in the second half of the year.
Well, I think it just goes again to go back to the culture that, you know, Coach Hope has instilled in our program and, you know, the pride that we have in Aztec football. We're never, ever going to be perfect. We're always striving for that. But as you continue to try to play up to your standard, what we feel is our standard, we're proud of the way that the effort's been. We still feel that there's room for growth and room for development. You know, we have goals, game goals that we set for ourselves to where we're trying to get so many tackle for losses or maybe so many PBUs or situations like that that we were still not able to obtain. So there's some really good growth. You know, hats off to the front three, you know, and their defensive line and Coach Enna. And, you know, I think the linebackers are blitzing pretty good now and have a good mixture and rotation. You know, having Mike Shawcroft back has been a really blessing in disguise. He got banged up a little bit against Boise, and, you know, now he's back and he's playing at a high level too. So, some individual effort as well as total team effort, and really everyone buying into what we're asking them to do has really showed these last couple games, and which is good. And we obviously got to take that next step forward against UNLV this week.
Coach, sometimes the results aren't always what you want them to be, but how pleased are you with how the process is going, with how the defense has grown since game one of the season?
It's night and day. I mean, if you sat there and watched us play against Arizona and then watched us play against Nevada or Fresno just this past Saturday, I think you'd have been like, man, that's a tale of two teams. And I think, again, it goes back to the coaching of our assistant coaches, the expectations of the program with, Coach Brady Hoke and what we're constantly preaching, and, the offense, our offense itself, us working together against each other, and we're both sides are trying to push each other to take that next step to get better. And, through competition, cream rises to the top. And that's what we've constantly been seeing, a greater commitment of preparation for our opponents, a greater understanding of what our opponents are doing. And I think it's been showing up on game days.
Kurt Mattix, San Diego State's defensive coordinator, with us right now on John and Jim. So you're going to get UNLV coach this weekend. It's been an interesting year for the Rebels. They've had some huge scoring outputs, earlier in conference play, games like Utah State, New Mexico, out of conference, North Texas. I mean, they've scored 30, 40, 50 points in a game. Here recently, they've had some injuries, including to their quarterback, Doug Brumfield, and they've lost 3 straight coming in. They've used at least 3 quarterbacks, right, this year. So how do you prepare for a team, and this has happened a couple times this year, but how do you prepare for a team that could throw a couple of different quarterbacks at you over the course of 60 minutes?
Well, it's great that you asked that. Last year, I think we that happened to us all year, whether we'd knock a guy out and then we'd see the backup. But, this year we've actually seen tape on all 3 quarterbacks. We faced one of them last year in the game itself in Friel, 7. And so, we have an idea of what they're trying to do. And unfortunately, they've been hit with a little bit of an injury bug and played some really good competition here recently in Notre Dame. But they've had a chance to get healthy and this past week. So, that when you place a team coming off a bye, you're sort of like, oh gosh, what have they done this bye week to change what they're doing? I know what we try to do in the bye week and really try to adjust some things, and really felt like that bye week really bounced us into sort of the direction we're playing now. But that being said, we think that we're going to see Broomfield number 2 and feel like he is a heck of a football player. He has a great command of the offense, is able to deliver the ball really well. And we look forward to the challenge that he presents for us. I mean, back-to-back weeks, for playing some really good quarterbacks. Obviously, our defensive backs are really aware of the receivers they have as well that are really talented. So we look forward to the challenge.
Coach, when you were coaching him on the defensive side of the football, did you have any inkling that Jalen Mayen could do this as a quarterback?
Great question. And I would say yes and no. And when I say yes and no is, when we had a chance to coach him a little bit on the defensive side, you saw the competitiveness in him, because when he went through some of our spring drills and stuff like that, I don't know if there was 100% buy-in to what he was asking, what he was doing there. And we challenged him, we motivated him in ways that he didn't feel like it wasn't necessarily the most pleasant experience, I think, during the spring. And then in the fall camp, he really understood what the expectations were and had a good summer. And then fall camp really started, the ball started rolling. So now you're sitting here saying, hey, this he can do it. He's doing some good things. And then slowly but surely finding his way on some special teams, which again is just a sign of toughness and effort and guys that really want to do it. And he made that decision to be on all teams, or found a way to be on all teams. So you see that competitive nature in him. And now, something that he was born and raised in, something that he really, really wanted to do, in all likelihood to be the starting quarterback. He was able to get another shot and really, come to find out who he really is. And it's been awesome. It's been special. Obviously, as defensive players, we still, treat him as a defensive player and talk trash to him and give him a hard time and all this other stuff, which has been fun. And I think he really enjoys that piece to it. But, you just everything that he's been through for this past year is just a testament to the type of character and young man that he is. And he's just a special young man that you love to be around. He's got a nice smile that, you give him a little garbage or whatever. He's got that smile. And I'm like, yeah, you're getting soft being on that offensive side of the ball or whatever. And he just looks at me and says, no, I'm not. I'll run through you. And I'm like, okay. He's still there and all that other stuff. So it's been fun.
It's an amazing story. Again, we're being joined right now by Kurt Mattix, San Diego State's defensive coordinator. If you were game planning against Jalen Maiden, I'd imagine it's a pretty tough game plan. I mean, his size and physicality is serious. Like, he's got real size. He can hurt you in the open field. And he's got quite the arm on him with really good touch, it appears, over these 3 games.
No question. And I think, what the offensive staff has tried to do with him and put him in a situation in a situation to be successful. I think they've really made it something that he really feels comfortable with. And, him working with Ryan Lindley and Coach Hort and what they've been able to do each week and have a couple little wrinkles and understand what his strengths are. And, there's a couple times he stood in the pocket. Not that I watch a lot of the offense, but he stood in the pocket. I saw one play and delivered a dime. And I was just like, wow, that's a great play, and and so on and so forth. So it's part of the growth of him, and I think his growth and development has really helped us as a program defensively. Again, you go back to when they're on the field, we're sitting on the sideline just resting and going over some things to fix, and that's been a blessing in disguise as much as anything too, because our snaps per game have gone down a little bit in the last couple of weeks with Jalen at quarterback, because they're able to do pretty well on third down as well as put some points on the board.
We're looking forward to Saturday. Again, you didn't get the result you wanted. The game was obviously there for the taking, but the improvement can be seen right now, week in and week out, offense and defense for San Diego State. So it's the Aztecs and the Rebels, Saturday at 4, pregame coverage at 2. Tickets available at goaztecs.com. Coach, it's always our pleasure. We appreciate the time, and we'll see you over the course of the weekend.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks again for having us, and go Aztecs.